I'm going to show you 3 drum patterns from 3 different genres. I'm going to go over drums for boom bap, trap, and drill. Here's the whole drill beat together. First thing you want to think about is your 808s. The first thing to think about when doing your 808 melodies is to make sure that your 808s align with the melody of the sample. Let's take a listen to the sample. Let's listen to just the 808 in the sample. As you can hear, the 808 notes align with the chord changes of the sample. The next important thing for drill 808s is your slides. Here's how slides sound. The whoop 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 sound in the drill tracks is your 808 slides. The way to make an 808 slide is to put down 2 notes. The first note is just a normal note, which is this one down here. If you double click on a normal note, it should bring up this note properties section. Normal notes will not have either of these clicked on. For a slide note, if you double click on it, it should have this slide section turned on. This is your slide symbol. To turn it on for a normal note, click on the slide and then click accept. Now you can see this note is a slide. The length of this slide note here determines how quickly the note changes from this A4 to this A5. The longer this note, the longer it takes the slide. In drill tracks, you want to make sure your slides are very short to get that quick whoop 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 sound. The next thing for your drums is your kick. You want to make sure your kick aligns with your 808s. That way it gives it some more oomph. It's not the most noticeable because oftentimes drill 808s overpower your kick, but it's still important to have. So here's how it sounds with the kick. The next important thing in drill tracks is your rim shot and your snare. Here's the sample with just the rim shot and the snare. The important thing to know for drill tracks is to start off with your snare and your rim shot in these 2 spots. Your first spot is on the 3rd beat, and your second spot is on the 2.5 beat. So the way that we can count beats is this section of gray is 1, this section of red is 2, this section of gray is 3, this section of red is 4. On this next bar, this is your first beat, and then it's your second beat here. So we can see that this rim shot and snare are in the second half of the second beat. So if we play just this pattern with the metronome, it sounds like this. Obviously, you can add more rim shots and snares to it after that, but that's the important ones that you need to have. The final thing is your hi-hats. For drill hi-hats, the main pattern starts like this. Start off with 1 here, you skip 2, you put 1 more down, you skip 2, you put 1 down, and then you skip 1, and your pattern starts again. So it'll look like this as we put it down. 1 here, skip 2, 1, skip 2, 1, skip 1, and then skip 2 again, skip 2, and then if you want to start your next pattern, you put it here. Here's how this sounds. The transition from waiting 2 to waiting 1 gives it that bounce. Once you have that pattern down, you can add ghost notes or hi-hat fills in the rest of the parts. Here's everything together for the drill track. Let's talk about boom bap. Here's the whole beat all together first. For the boom bap drums, I use something called FPC. FPC allows you to play different drums with your keyboard like this. You can find it by going here, clicking plus, and then going up to here in drum that says FPC. One downside of FPC is you can't have individual mixer tracks for individual drums. You only get 1 mixer track for the entire FPC. That's a slight downside in case you want to do different effects on different drums. But I think the upside of being able to play different drums with your keyboard is super beneficial. First thing for boom bap is to put down some snares. The Key point in boom bap is to make sure you're using live sounding drums. One thing with FPC is you can pull different samples into the pad to change them. If I want to switch this closed hat, what I need to do is I need to grab my sample and pull it into here. But when I do that, it's going to overlay on top of it. So they're both going to play at the same time. So now you can see there's 4 sounds in here. If I click this hi-hat, it's going to play 2 of those sounds at the same time. If you want just the sound that you brought in, make sure to delete these other ones. Now you'll just have that one sound. The next thing I did was the kicks. One thing with the kicks is putting them in places that make it really sound good with the rest of the track. That can really depend on your melody and how your sample goes, so it's really up to your own decisions. Here's what I did. Changing the volume of your kicks at different points can really make it feel like the song was done live. The final thing was closed hi-hats and open hi-hats. A big thing with boom bap is trying to make it feel like your drums are not automated. One way to make it feel like your drums were done live is to manually tap in your drums. This gives it a feel that sometimes the drums are offbeat. This is a technique that Jay Dilla would use all the time. If you're recording in your drums using FPC, make sure that this button here is clicked on. If this button is on, it'll let you add additional notes to this section here. If this button is off, if you record over it, it deletes all of your things. So if I were to record now, I would click this button here, I would click Notes and Automation, and then when I recorded over it, it would remove these. So let's try it right now. Do you see how those were deleted here? Now, if I have this button on, it'll simply record over top. Now, none of your notes are deleted. Let's hear all the drums together. Let's talk about trap. A big part of your trap drums is your 808. 808s and trap drums are often very simple. Here's how mine sounds. The 808 really just follows the melody. In addition to the 808, we want to have a kick in this structure. It doesn't need to be this complicated, but you do want to have your kicks pretty often. The next thing is your clap. Your clap is always going to be on your third beat. If we were to count these lines here, this one here would be your first one, this one here would be your second, this would be your third, and this would be your fourth. You always want to have your clap on the third beat. Here's how it sounds with a metronome. You can also have a snare instead of a clap. Hi-hats and trap drums can be really complicated. The main thing you want to do initially is to put a hi-hat on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then continue from there. You really want to add your own style to it. The way that you can do that is by changing the volume or adding different hi-hats in different locations. Here's how mine sound. And that's all the drums for trap. Here's how they all sound together. Thanks for staying to the end. This is actually a requested video by a viewer, so feel free to ask for any other topics or videos that you want made.